Wednesday glow. We got the spirit going in here. Spirit in the sky. Come on over, my buddy.
Okay, we're friends, so I'm gonna...
Yep, we're friends. And we've been practicing our social distancing, but one of the things that has been so amazing with our friendship, if you can see from all of this, is that there is definitely spirit in the sky here. This is John Maxwell.
I'm here.
A
Hello.
passionate, and I underscore passionate hobby that this man embraces, model airplanes. I mean, I'm a girl, okay? I like planes. I like flying, I like planes, but look at this.
It's not a hobby, it's an addiction.
It's an addiction. Okay, here we go. So, why don't you tell us, first of all, how did you massively even begin something like this? What happened? What happened?
Every kid, every little boy always dreams about flying an airplane, right? And I'm probably like every other kid. My dad, when I was 10, took me to Edwards Air Force Base to see the Thunderbirds fly, and I got hooked on airplanes, right? So I started by flying little U-control airplanes, so the kind that are on a string that go in a circle when you're on your playground, you know?
Oh, that's a U.
They call them U-control because the little controller's in the shape of a U, and you just go up and down with the airplane. That's all you do.
Okay, so now you guys, I don't know half the questions I'm going to ask this guy, so anybody have a question, just put it in the chat because this is amazing. So one thing I just learned, that's what it's called, okay?
Yeah, and then they were developing radio control systems for airplanes. So that's when I got one of those, and that was in the mid to late 70s probably.
And how old were you then?
Oh, then I was 15, 17, whatever I was. And now there's been so many technological developments in model aviation, and that's some of the stuff we're going to look at today.
Okay, so question number one. I'm looking at all these fascinating things here. Can you tell me, do you build them? Do you buy them? I mean, it must take forever if you were to build one. Can somebody just go into a store and buy one? Yeah,
you can buy them in every way you just talked about. You can buy them either prefabricated, or you can build them from sticks, literally. Some of them come right out of the box, ready to go, like this little tiny one right here. This comes just the way that it is. You just have to put a battery in it and bind it to your radio, and that one's good to go. So it's the whole thing. This came in a whole bunch of pieces right here. I ended up wanting to paint it with an American paint scheme, so you can see I've got stars and stripes on the wings, and then of course I've got on the bottom my stripes. That's so I can tell which way it is when I'm looking at it in the sky.
So would you say it's an expensive hobby, or? I mean,
well,
would you classify it that way?
It can be. I mean, it's sort of like sports cars, right? I mean, they're multi-million-dollar sports cars, and then there's sports cars for $50,000 that are pretty fun to drive. So, so just across here, this little airplane here was $179. This one I put together all together for maybe $125. This one comes prefabricated out of the box. For it's about $500, plus you need a couple extra things for it, so maybe $800 for one of these.
Now, do you need a license to do this, though? I mean, like when you actually go out
You don't need a license.
Okay.
You need common sense, and you want to know where to fly it and when to fly it, because they take a lot of space to fly. So a little one like this, I can fly over at the baseball diamond here, at the local park over here.
No problem.
No problem at all. But a big one like
this. Hi,
this.
Kim. Thanks for watching. Kim's watching.
Oh, okay.
If you have a question, let us know.
And a big one like this, you need a full flying field, like the club I belong to, and they have a field that's 860 feet long and 70 feet wide.
So you get to a certain size and range, you need not only a place, but you need a license.
Not a license, still.
It's still not considered a license.
Still not a license. Everybody joins the AMA, which is the Academy of Model Aeronautics.
Okay.
And what that is it's an organization that's our trade group. for model airplanes. So
Carol's watching too.
Oh,
so
good.
They haven't put on a question yet, but if you guys have a question, let me know. But it's pretty fascinating. Okay, so go ahead.
yeah, so
with
no
the-
license required, but you do it because it provides a blanket insurance coverage in case something happens and your airplane crashes and hits a car or something like that.
So
if
when
it
you
happens.
join, just
Yeah.
out of curiosity, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of women watching, do women join this?
Yes.
Do women love this
Yes,
hobby?
there are a few. There's not a lot, but there's a few.
And so once you join, do they like to know your credentials? Like, hey, John, what's yours like, and how long?
Well,
you know, how does that go?
Do you know what
by?
it's like when you're at the flying field? Everybody's watching everybody else flying. So the best pilots that have the best airplanes, you don't have to tell anyone. They can just watch you. They know it's your plane and they know you're flying
Kind of like
it.
cars, right? Like, ooh,
Yeah.
I know that.
It's sort of like if you have to tell someone, then it can't be that cool. Okay, it either is or it isn't.
Okay, now I noticed that you said there was a difference at one point between the radio control and now there's channel hopping. Can you kind of explain that to people?
So
Radio control.
the best thing to do is just to see
Okay.
what a transmitter looks like, which is this. This is a case that you would hold one in, and this is what a transmitter looks like. So what used to be in the old days is that you had a crystal that was on a certain frequency, and there was probably about 30 frequencies, and you always had to put a little flag with your frequency number in a little place so that everybody else knew not to turn on their transmitter.
So not only did you have to be checking that, but you had to be checking your own gear.
Yeah,
So it's kind
exactly.
of like.
But
wow.
now the channel hopping technology, or the spread spectrum we call it, is in the back. It's built into here. It's a 2.4 gigahertz type of a system, and you could have 100 transmitters and everybody can turn on, and what the transmitter does is search for a channel that's not being used, lock in on it, and then also be looking for another free channel at the same time, so that if someone else turned on a radio,
You're not going to crash.
yeah, exactly. So all the radios all the time are switching channels in milliseconds, you know what I mean, very quickly, and so you don't worry about that.
Is this expensive then?
They're not that much, about $800 for this.
Okay, now this is like.
But you can use this for all the airplanes.
All right, that was going to be my question.
Sure.
And then, do you like have to maintain it in a certain way, or does it require?
No, it's just got a battery to charge it up. You can tell it's electronic. Okay, so for example, if I want to operate this one right here, I might as well do that. And you can see that you can program in all your different models, and you just have to select the one that you want. So I'm going to select this F-16 right here. I'm going to make sure the landing gear is down, okay, because it's already down. If I turn it on now and plug it in and that switch was up, the landing gear would go up, which I don't want to happen right now.
So this is literally like a real deal, but miniature size.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing that fascinates.
It's a real airplane. The common mistake is people think a model's not a real airplane. It is real. It's just not full scale. It's just a smaller version of
But
it.
everything that would be in a real one.
Sure. So we plug it in just so you can see what it's like.
Yes.
And you can tell it has navigation lights on it, right?
Wow.
And right now the system's initializing, and these surfaces are going to even out in just a second like they just did. And that means that the gyro that's in it, a gyroscope, which helps fly it, is operational now. So you can tell right now it has elevator controls in the back.
So you have like this little checklist that you go through when you're out there, right?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Sure. You do all that kind of stuff, and of course once it's on, then you can put this back in. But you can see in the top here, if you look at some of the electronics, this is the battery. I brought one out here so you can see this is the battery that would power this.
Wow.
And that's it in the airplane. It's a lithium polymer battery, the same kind that's in your cell phone or your tablet. Exactly the same type of battery, but different shape, obviously, in a bigger capacity.
Does that have to be replaced frequently?
These are rechargeable.
Wonderful.
So this one's a new one, but this
We've
one.
got Susanna watching.
This
now
one
too,
here.
and
Oh,
Jeannie's
good.
joining us. Hi guys. Make sure to send us a question if you have any. I'll let John know.
And there's, but this battery's 4 years old that's in it, so it has a lot of flights that you could use.
Okay, now this is probably going to be the hardest question for you to answer. Do you have your very first one?
No.
That you, what happened to it?
Oh, it crashed. No, they all crash. So that's
That's reassuring. You spend a couple $100, but I guess that's part of the hobby, huh?
In the old days, it used to be you spent months building something, and then almost inevitably, you know, it would crash in the first few flights. Now, because of a number of just reasons,
okay,
engine reliability, that the old radio systems I told you, which someone could turn on their transmitter and that would cause havoc. So now you don't have any of those issues, and with electric power, which is very reliable, like this plane has 66 flights on it.
Whoa.
Okay, almost all these planes have more than 50 flights on them.
Lauren, check these ones up here.
Yeah, even the ones, at least every one of them.
So when you say flight, kind of give the audience a little idea. Is there a time frame when you say flight, or would it be just like...
because the batteries only last so long.
Okay.
So you typically get, the flights are short, between 4 and 5 minutes long, typically for the jets like this.
Okay.
For that Spitfire, that's over here, if you want to take a look like this, obviously it's a different propulsion system because it's a propeller. It is electric engine though in this. This probably could fly for 8 or 10 minutes.
And how high are we talking?
Well, you need to be able to see it.
Right, so because you're controlling, obviously.
Right, but there is a national standard for that, which is 400 feet.
Okay.
So you're always supposed to be below 400 feet.
Now, how often do you personally go out with your friends in the group that you've joined?
All the time. You know, I try to get out 2-3 times a week if I can.
And it's great because with social distancing, you don't really even have
any
you're
worries,
always parked. You're parked,
you know, 10, 15 feet away. I mean, that's never been a problem.
All right, so first one's gone. In here, what is the one that is your favorite right now that you're just like, whoa, this baby just is amazing? Or do you have just so many favorites?
I love them all. I do love them all, but I have to say that one of my favorites, which I wish I had set up for you, is this right here.
Okay,
and that's because this is a B-24 bomber from World War II.
Wow. So this is what it looked like.
This is the fuselage, right? And the engine, the wing is this right here with the 4 engines on it, right? This is the wing for it right here. And the reason that I love this airplane is because of the fact that when I bought it, it came with a certain paint scheme on it. But I found a paint scheme, and you can see on the side here, because my last name is Maxwell, for the Maxwell House 3. This plane, just as it looks, actually existed. It flew in the Pacific Theater in World War II. Unfortunately, it crashed, and everyone on this plane died when it crashed.
Wow.
But I got the documentation with the pictures of everything, and then I had some of these special decals made for it. And then my friend, Andy, in Virginia, who's a retired Navy guy, he's really into 3D printing and stuff, so he 3D printed all the cockpit, the pilots in it. He designed the turrets on these, which all move with radio control movements. The tail gunner moves as well. So when this is flying, it looks really real because the guns are moving and
so you have history. You have a piece of history here.
Yeah.
And do each of them, look at, it comes with their pilots, the whole bit, it's like the real thing, like you said, right? So
I should have set this up. As a matter of fact, if we ever get the opportunity to go to the flying field,
will do one.
We'll bring this one because it's really just neat to see.
We can kind of see.
It fly,
now, tell me what you're working on currently and what your goal is.
That's good. It's a little hard to see, and Warren, if you come this way, up here, these are my 2 latest ones. The gray one is an F-22 Raptor, right? It's a jet as well. And then the one behind it, of course, is a Blue Angels F-18, which is what they currently fly. That hasn't flown yet because I'm waiting to put the gyro in, which is in this box right here.
Okay.
And that's going to go.
And can you tell everybody again, some of the people that just hopped on, what the gyro is again?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the gyroscope, is just a way of stabilizing the aircraft. So it detects movement in the aircraft, and it adjusts the flying surfaces to keep it flying straight and level. It's a little aid, like a crutch almost, is what it is. And it's just this little tiny box. I'll open this up for you. I think that I can open this for you.
So while you're doing that, okay, now
actually,
you
I don't have to open
your
it because
dad kind of inspired you.
Yeah.
So most of the people that are in your hobby arena, and there's women too, like you said, Do you think it's a parent, or do most of them, was it a parent that kind of got them going, or just different things across the board?
Do you know what it probably was? Just watching the space flight on television. I mean, if you were a kid like me and you saw them flying to the moon, you know, anything that happens up in the air, you get impressed by. You want to do it. So, or you go by your local airport, right, and you see people flying, you know, you see airplanes flying, and it just makes you think of it. Or you watch it in the movies.
Right.
Wherever you find it, you're always going to, you're always going to be impressed with flight. I mean, everybody's impressed with flight. I'm impressed when I get on an airliner. I can't believe those things fly.
And now you actually know, I mean, because you work on these, you know what it takes to get it off the ground, to get it going. The staff behind it, everything. It's just like,
Sure. And they look very cool when they're flying. I mean, you wouldn't even know the difference in some situations because they detail them so accurately that they're just like their full scale, you know.
Now this is probably just a girl crazy question, but do you guys race? I mean, is there such a thing as racing?
Sure. There's pylon racing, they call it. It's just like the same way that the big airplanes do. As a matter of fact, that yellow airplane on the wall, that's a Formula One pylon racing airplane.
Okay.
This one right here.
Okay.
And you can see it's got a big 40cc gas motor on it. This probably goes 210 miles an hour at least.
Now, when you bring them back after flying, you know how every hobby requires a little bit of tender, loving care? Do you need to do a certain, like, I gotta clean it, I gotta do that? What is the little routine you have?
There's a ton of maintenance.
Really?
And it's not for any reason other than you want to be careful, just like on a real airplane. Because it's not like a car where if something goes wrong, you can pull it over to the side of the road. It means there's something wrong, it's in the air, and it's going to crash. So you just double check all kinds of things. The connection, the servos themselves, that they're working properly. The connections between the servos and the flying surfaces. The batteries, you're always balancing them and storage charging them and doing different things to them. You're always checking, landing gear just to make sure that wheels aren't coming loose or you haven't bent something or.
So when you do this and go out with your friends, from beginning to end, what would be the time frame? Like a good couple hours then, right? Even though it's only up in flight for maybe 5 minutes max, right?
So you get all prepared. You go out to the flying field. You set up. You shoot the breeze with all your friends, and they say, hey, that looks really cool. When'd you do that? Or this is a modification I made.
Right.
Look at and then you talk about it. You fly your airplanes. And then when you come home at night, that's when you spend hours and hours and hours going through things, either building new airplanes or fixing things. All these airplanes that you're looking at have all broken. I mean, have all had busted wings or landing gear or different things like that.
So we got one more person, Stephanie, that joined, so she's saying hi too. Make sure you guys, if you have a question, because we'll be wrapping it this soon. Here's one other question I have. So if you were to put a time frame, walk around and say, okay, this has started when I was 6. How does it make you feel? Do you feel like time is just like, and you're young again? Or how would you even put an adjective
It's
on that?
always been fun to do, but now with the new technology, it's much more enjoyable. I can't even explain to you. We never dreamed that we could have an airplane like that, Thunderbird's F-16, you wouldn't even dream of that because we didn't even have the technology for the engines, the batteries, the everything else. So the great part about it is that any airplane that you dreamed of as a kid, you can get now.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So would you say that this requires a mind with a lot of clarity?
I'm sorry, that's just because nothing moved on here for a minute. It's a warning.
So, because I would think with the detail and the maintenance that you would have to kind of be on your game, be alert, so are most of the people in this hobby pretty advocate about staying, focused and healthy and, in with the mindset group of the same kind of, you know what I mean?
What I love about this hobby, it's like scuba diving. When you're doing it, it's the only thing you can do. It requires complete focus. Nobody is talking on their cell phone and flying a model airplane, okay? It can't be done. So, yeah, it requires a lot of focus, And most of the people who do this, though, are generally successful at what other things that they do in life, because this is a very highly technical type of activity.
I love it. Well, what would you like to say to somebody that had no idea this hobby existed, and maybe give them a little incentive to just go out and appreciate it? Like, you know, go out and see you guys. What would you say to somebody like that?
I'd tell them to call me right away, and I would get them all set up. The greatest part is that you can buy in a box an airplane with a radio and a battery and everything all set up, ready to go. 20 minutes you can be flying it, and it has technology in it that helps you to fly it. So getting started in this is easier now than it's ever been.
Well, there you guys go. Okay, a hobby that half of us didn't even know that's developed. John Maxwell, a total passionate expert in my view. How blessed are we in our own neighborhood. See you later, Wednesday
Okay, bye,
Glow.
everybody.
Bye.